My 2 years as president looks very, very different when I look back on it from how I viewed it when I was anticipating it. And one of the joys of the normal presidency is getting to know colleagues from all around the world, of course. The conferences, meetings, especially informal discussions face-to-face. Well, luckily, Zoom was invented just in time for the pandemic. But as Marvin Gaye sang, ain't nothing like the real thing. And in the spirit of another song, always look on the bright side of life, Dr. Maggie Wong came up with the redeeming feature that of all ANZCA's presidents, I came the closest to being carbon neutral. And whilst this fits in with another of my objectives, it's not quite as I intended, really, have to be honest. Other colleagues, in a very helpful way, have chipped in with reminders that even in the bad times, nothing is ever a complete disaster, and life is not to be taken entirely seriously. Marianne Laurent, who's the wife of one of my friends and Anista's colleagues, Dr. Steve Laurent, created for me. Looking back at what I said when my friend Rod Mitchell handed the presidency over to me in 2020, I listed 4 objectives that I wanted to advance during my 2 years. The last of them, number 4 on the list, was to make sure that the business as usual activities like, exams, would continue to evolve and develop. Little did I know that business as usual things were going to become the hardest to achieve and will be the all-consuming focus for the next 2 years. It's a tribute to the dedication of all the staff and fellows involved that we were able to keep the good ship ANZCA afloat during these extraordinary times. So how have we done in the other areas? Well, number 1 on my list in 2020 was the advancement of perioperative medicine. And again, COVID has been a major distraction, but the project is now back in focus. Perioperative medicine is likely to be one of the most important developments for the future of our specialty. I know I'm preaching to the converted, but its multidisciplinary wraparound approach carries direct benefits to patients by refining their diagnosis, treatment and management, while advancing clinicians' understanding and avoidance of potential pitfalls. And at the same time, the sharpened focus on diagnosis, treatment and management is expected to deliver flow-on benefits to health economics. Potentially, everyone's a winner. When did that ever happen? Everyone will be a winner out of this. And looking at where we are compared with 2 years ago, we now have a launch date for the diploma. We've worked out how to grandparent people into the diploma. We're building the economic case, and we're working on the advocacy for the concept with the people who have to make the judgments about paying for it. I had hoped to be further ahead, but we've done very well, really, all things considered, with the distraction of COVID. Momentum and excitement are building now that this is a tangible thing, not just someone's bright idea from the middle of the night. Number 2 on my list, on my 2020 list, was equity and addressing the health disparities that are experienced by Aboriginal Australians, Torres Strait Islanders and Maori communities. And essential to this work is the building of mutual understanding, trust and confidence by taking every opportunity to ensure that their worldview and their stories are heard, understood and respected. Customs, culture and language are essential components of mutual understanding and respect. And I'm moved by the fact that a beautiful Maori name for the college has been gifted to us, one that symbolises what we do, as you've just heard, as the significant house that gives the breath of life and healing. Te whare tohu o te hou whakaora. I was likewise moved last month to be present in Brisbane when songwoman Maruchi, elder of the Turrbal tribe, bestowed the blessing of the gathering on the unveiling of Turrbal names for the 2 meeting rooms in the Queensland office of ANZCA. And they are now honoured by the names Muramba Yaka, meaning good work in the spirit of goodness, and Margul Mianaba, which means knowledge or the eyes of the mind. ANZCA Council has also approved an addition to its welcoming statement, recognising the special relationship between the Pacific peoples of New Zealand, Australia and the Pacific. It commits to supporting those fellows and trainees of ANZCA and to improving the health of Pacific peoples, and it links neatly both Australia and New Zealand together in this. Work also continues to encourage Indigenous doctors to choose our specialty when they're looking for a professional home. Number 3 on my list was to apply our world-class research methodology to audit and clinical guidelines. And we're experimenting with this now in our living document guidelines on surgery post-COVID. There's much to do, but this initial foray has been very well received by the fellowship and others, so expect to see more of it in the future. And in conclusion, I extend my heartfelt thanks to my fellow councillors and to the ANZCA CEO and staff, without whom none of this would have been possible. I particularly thank Dr Chris Cokis, the incoming President, for his wide counsel and support over what has been a tumultuous 2 years. It's often the smallest things, Chris, that bring the greatest joy. And for me, this has been signing the fellowship certificates for those trainees who've achieved ANZCA. So, Chris, here's the special archival pen that will bring you so much fun, and that does the job.
Thank you.
Chris has many wonderful qualities and attributes, summarised in the alliterative, cool, calm, collected Chris Cokis. And these will serve him and ANZCA well over the next 2 years. And now, Chris, over to you. Get rid of that one. Hold on. Wait.
We've got to do the medals.
We've got to do the medal, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we better stand up.
I think we better. It's going to put up a bit of a fight. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll sit here.
There we are. There we are.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. I have to say the medal's a lot heavier than you would think it would be, but thank you very much. And just before you sit down, we also have a medal for you. It's the Immediate Past President medal, and I'm going to put that on if I can unclasp it.
That's very good.
So I'll get it on the right way. There we go.
I love this pink. Pink is my colour.
You are now officially the IPP.
Thank you. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. My name is Chris Cokis, and I'm the new President of ANZCA. I'm just going to take the opportunity again to thank Neil, the organising committee, Hamish, who's just beside us, the events team, the production team, for organising a really fantastic meeting. We're in Adelaide, it's a Perth ASM, and it's being broadcast to Australia and New Zealand and probably around the world, and I think it's just gone off fantastically, so it's a credit to you guys. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr Vanessa Beavis as the immediate past president and thank her for her leadership over the last 2 years, possibly the most difficult 2 years of any president. Despite this, I don't want Vanessa's presidency to be defined by COVID, but acknowledged as a successful term it has been, showcasing her skills as a medical leader. I'd like to give just a couple of examples, and Vanessa's already mentioned some of these, of where ANZCA has benefited greatly from her leadership. The first is around the exams and training. Despite the many obstacles that appeared on the horizon in early 2020, and it was looking pretty gloomy at the time, and aided by the college staff, Vanessa negotiated often and hard through council, the examiners and trainees, a pathway that allowed us to continue training and exams almost uninterrupted, and better than most other colleges, a significant achievement. You did very well. The second example is her determination, and you've already mentioned this, and again supported by others, to get perioperative medicine up and running by 2023. A huge undertaking considering the obstacles. So well done, Vanessa. Thank you for successfully steering the college ship, and I'm going to continue the analogy that Mick Vag started about ships and steering and avoiding the coronabergs. But it's not just me you need to hear this from. So we've specially produced a video for you that you can watch now.
She's one of the most consummately professional chairs of meetings that I've ever worked with. Somehow we all end up going her way, but it feels like we're doing it.
Vanessa's a no-nonsense person, and there's no beating around the bush. You know exactly what she's thinking.
One day when I gave her a call, and we were trying to move our exam candidates from Adelaide over to Sydney. When I called her to tell her what we were thinking of doing, I just got silence on the end of the phone.
You always know where you stand with Vanessa. There's no surprises.
But in the end it worked, and we found out she was very supportive.
She thinks something's not in the best interests of our college. The messages just were short and sweet. Total bollocks? No, never going to happen over my dead body.
She told us what she thought.
I love that attitude.
I've worked with Vanessa for 25 years. We've had this leapfrogging business of being each other's boss ever since. She's a tough lady. She has a bit of a soft centre though.
She cares deeply about not just the fellows or the trainees, but also staff. And she's always there with something positive to say. Nothing's too much trouble.
I've known Vanessa for 4 weeks. I don't know anybody's names, and I've only been in it 1 week, and she turns up to say hello and have a cup of tea. That's pretty amazing.
Very warm, very friendly, very inclusive.
One day I got this message from Vanessa, just out of the blue, and it was, "How are you today?" "Okay, I'm fine." And it wasn't until later on I realised, I think it was, "Are you okay day?" I didn't even ask her how she was.
You've shown amazing leadership qualities, resilience and consideration for others.
There was certainly time during the pandemic when we were back in the office between lockdowns, and she appeared in my office door, and her main concern was just to have a conversation about how the staff were going.
Vanessa's been our first and probably, I'd say, our very best avatar president.
Vanessa took on the role of ANZCA President just as the global pandemic was taking hold, and the way that Vanessa managed that has just been outstanding.
And she just rose above all of that. You know, she's like, well, it is what it is. And she just got on with doing what needed to be done.
I think Vanessa has a clear focus and she's a very good decision maker. She's quite funny as well.
She's got this underlying wicked sense of humour.
Like I'm the only one that gets it, and I'm giggling away in the background, and I'm looking at everyone else going, yeah, that just went totally over their heads.
Some of those very, very late Zoom meetings across the globe, a teacup didn't always contain what you thought it might contain.
BB, I know what was in that coffee cup of yours.
Maybe there was something else in there to help get us through these difficult times.
In 2015, we held a meeting in Auckland. People were coming up to me and holding plates of food and saying, "Look, eat this, look at it, smell it." And Vanessa came out of the blue, came into the side, and she said to me, "I think the chefs from Fat Pizza are here."
She has a very infectious laugh, inspiring, sort of fierce, you know, sort of honest, down-to-earth, woman with a really big smile and fabulous shoes.
We're in awe of the fact that she could chair a committee effectively and order 2 handbags and 3 pairs of shoes at the same time.
The two of us are just helpless. All I have to do is text her one name and one word or something like that, and there'll be several emojis of hysterical laughter coming back.
I think the biggest thing that stands out to me about Vanessa is her ability to listen. That makes her a great leader.
She's got a really great eye for detail as well as the bigger picture. She can put herself in lots of different positions and roles and have empathy for people.
She doesn't make me feel like I'm just a number. She makes me feel like I'm doing a really good job.
She has a fantastic dedication to medicine. That's what it's all about. Absolute role model for the younger women coming through particularly, but all of us actually.
I think we're really lucky to have Vanessa when COVID struck.
She really has steered the college through probably the most challenging 2 years any of us will ever have experienced.
She's managed to corral us all into a sort of working, functioning council in a way that probably no one else could have done.
She was able to have her voice heard at meetings in such a frank and forthright manner with the utmost of confidence.
The highlight for me of Vanessa's presidency has really been seeing someone who's so good at the job do it up close.
I think she deserves a holiday at the end of it.
She's going to be really missed.
Vanessa, thank you for all your work over the last 2 years during what has been a tumultuous period.
You have been our pandemic president and you've held us all together. You provided that leadership that we all really needed.
Your friendship and love is what helped me get through. Wish you every happiness and success for whatever you do next.
VB, like the rest of council, we know that you're still around to keep us on the straight and narrow.
I hope that the next 20 years with Brian is full of skiing, red wine and fabulous dinners.
I'm certainly going to miss our Tuesday afternoon catch-ups. 1 o'clock for you.
We'll always be close friends like we are now. Thank you.
You and Brian are very welcome to come and stay with me anytime in Tasmania.
You looked after me, you made me laugh. I can't thank you enough. Thank you, Vanessa.
Look forward to you taking your foot off the gas just a little bit. Go well. Kia kaha.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That was a great video. I
Thank
would
you.
just like to say 3 things, Vanessa. It's all true. Secondly, you will be around and I will be using your wise counsel over the next few years. And thirdly, no pressure or anything, is there?
Thank you, Chris.
Are you all right there?
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a whole box here. Lisa's not the pillowcase, which one somebody gave me once.
Just a little bit about me. I'm a clinical anaesthetist from Perth in WA, where I work predominantly in public at the Fiona Stanley Fremantle Hospital Group, but also in private to maintain my sanity. My main interest is in cardiothoracic anaesthesia. Don't hold that against me. And I'm also currently co-head of one of the largest departments in Australia and New Zealand. My pathway to this job has not been linear. I haven't always been involved with the college and only came to council relatively late after a stint as a final examiner. In fact, I was quite anti-council when I finished my training and saw it as a mainly Melbourne-based club of little relevance to me. But now I have seen the light and think my unorthodox pathway is an advantage in that I will bring a different perspective to this role. One of the reasons I put my hand up is that I've come to realise what an impressive organisation ANZCA is, and part of my job is to convince you of that. I don't think I've ever been to a college meeting where the interest of fellows, trainees or the public have not been at the forefront of everyone's mind. You may not be aware, or even care, but you may not be aware, that ANZCA is held up as one of the leading medical colleges. We are seen as leaders, innovators and responsive to our environment. Over the next 2 years, I hope to continue the legacy Vanessa has created, particularly in embedding perioperative medicine into our training program and moving forward with our soon-to-be-released strategic plan. The focus of this will include increasing diversity, as we've already talked about, and we've talked about quite a lot at the meeting, in our membership, our fellows and our trainees, and a continual watchful eye on the horizon, because I think there are threats out there that we need to keep an eye on. 3 other things I'd just like to mention. COVID has disrupted everything, but now as travel begins again, I would like to reconnect with fellows from around Australia and New Zealand, including those outside of the big cities. I plan to share these activities with Vanessa so she can experience some of the things that she has missed during the last few years. Secondly, I have been very impressed and proud of the way our fellows and trainees have conducted themselves during the coronavirus crisis. We have stood up and helped out in intensive care, in the emergency department, on the wards, and in continuing to perform our planned and elective workload. This professionalism, willingness and flexibility, I think, has been noted in medical circles, and I hope we can continue to be the can-do specialty we have demonstrated that we are. Never let a good crisis go to waste, so I think the introduction of perioperative medicine in the near future provides us with a handy tool to build on this foundation. My last wish is more of an acknowledgement and awareness about consultant wellbeing. And we've talked a lot about trainee wellbeing, but I'd like to just focus on consultants for this particular session or this particular bit. And I'm unashamedly going to use this platform to do that. Over my career, I've come to realise that we struggle with processing poor clinical outcomes as individuals, particularly if we feel personally responsible. I say this from my own experience and from witnessing the effects of these episodes on other colleagues. As a group, I would like us to accept that we will all experience these events during our career, make sure we communicate and ask for help when needed, and access the many resources that are available at the particular time. I don't think we're particularly well prepared for these events, largely because thankfully they are very rare. Okay, I've just got a few thanks to go. I cannot overstate the efforts of our huge volunteer workforce. We could not run as a college for a single day without you, so thank you very much. I look forward to your support, the fellows and the trainees, and the support of Council and our CEO Nigel Fidgen over the next 2 years. Please feel free to connect with me, say hello, bend my ear, or tell me how crap my football team is. Thank you, and I look forward to meeting as many of you as I can in the next 2 years, and I look forward to being connected at the Sydney ASM next year. Thank you very much for joining us for this session.